The Siman Yud Aleph Sif Yud. So we said that there's a shear for how far, where the tzitzis need to be placed on the corner of the beged, and it cannot be more than 3 finger lengths. So if you take, let's say, 3 thumbs and sort of line them up side by side, the width of 3 thumbs, that's as far as it can go. If it's further away, then it's not considered on the corner anymore, then it's already considered in the beged. And also, it can't be too close to the corner, and too close to the corner is if you take the top of the thumb measure to the knuckle, it has to be at least that far away. So if let's say you have a beged and you just put it like a millimeter away from the corner, too close. See, here's the mechaber. This is actually very negeh. Let's say you put it in the proper spot, and then the tzitzis rip, which happens all the time. The tzitzis rips, and now it's sort of dangling. It's at the very end. As we're going to see in a moment, the minig nowadays by a tzitzis for sure is they put a thick edge. They make the edge of the tzitzis thick so that it's hard to rip through it, just to protect the beged. So let's say you have this. Someone called me last week. You have the tzitzis, you put it in the proper spot, and then it starts to rip, and now it's at the very end. So now it's too close. Says the mechaber, im hayarachach mi'aknaf maloi kesher goydel v'nitgu mechutia erev actually nisher kashir kosher. It's kosher. Now the mechaber is talking about a case where it didn't rip some of the beged itself. You lost some of the threads, but the Mishnah Berurah says the same thing. If it rips, that's why these are pictures. You see, so it started in the proper spot, and then it rips, and now it's hanging down. So it says the mechaber, it's kosher. Why? Kivan shehu kashir b'shasha hitel b'tzitzis, because you made it properly. And the Mishnah Berurah explains, why do I care? I don't care the way it is right now. I care that it was made properly. And says the Mishnah Berurah, why? The Mishnah Berurah says, the kroksiv v'osu lahem tzitzis. The pasuk, notice how it doesn't describe wearing tzitzis. It says, you shall make tzitzis, which means the main thing is how it's made. If it's made properly, and then afterwards there's ripped, as long as it's still connected to the beged, it's kosher. And the Bir Halacha brings down in Divrei Maschal Ad, Ayim Berambam, Da'afilu le'nishavoi rak kol shehu. And they have a picture. Even if it's mamish hanging by a tiny thread, but it's still on the beged, it is kosher. Now, so someone called me recently with the shaila. So I told him it's kosher, but the Mishnah Berurah does say, Toiv lasis kein kedusha le'yaveh haroim lo mershu pasel. Fix it. Because people don't know these halachas very well, and they're going to see the tzitzis hanging off on its, and a little bit holding on to dear life, and people are going to think that it's not proper, and people are going to think that it's not kosher, and therefore it's not. And also tzitzis specifically, it's zakeli vanvei. Tzitzis is supposed to be beautiful. This is not a choshev way to do it. So then says the Ramah, benoigim lasis imra sav vanekev. The minig is that around the hole of the tzitzis they make like a lip, like a thicker. A reinforced border around the hole, shalei yinatik, so it won't rip. He said over here, and they also make a reinforcement around the edge of the beged so that it doesn't rip. Then the Shulchan Aruch says, there is a shaila. We talked about how it has to be 3 finger lengths into the beged. The question is that just to the right side, or even, meaning in the height it has to be 3 finger lengths for sure. The question is in the width as well, meaning what if it's 3 finger lengths high but shifted to the left, or does it have to be 3 finger lengths in both directions? It's better be 3 finger lengths in both directions. Last halacha for today, the mechaber says im higdil im hagdil. Okay, so basically, I don't know why they used to do this, but in some of old tzitzis and talises, they would have like a strip towards the side of just strings in one direction. You know when you make a cloth, you have what's called a shesian and erev. So you have the string goes horizontal and vertical, and that's how you have like a real beged. It's horizontal, vertical. If you just have horizontal, you'll be able to put your hand through. It's very, very thin. For some reason, they would have on the side of the beged like an inch of that. So the mechaber says, "Hu rachav lo yata b'tzitzis." You can't put the tzitzis in that, meaning, because it only has a string, a thread in one direction, it's not really considered a beged. It's too thin. It's nothing. Therefore, while it is part of the beged and it is part of the measurements, you can't put the tzitzis directly on it. You have to put the tzitzis on the proper beged, which is horizontal and vertical threads, tight, shesi and air. Other opinions, the Mishnah Berurah says it could be this is not referring to what I've described. There is possible that it's describing, at the end of a talus it has these fringes. It could be something about the fringes, meaning these fringes that come at the end of the talus, you say to yourself, I'll put the tzitzis on the fringes. No. While the tzitzis are attached to the beged, they're not the beged. It says in the Chaver, lo yatal by tzitzis, v'mhilta by posel. And if you put tzitzis on those fringes, it's posel. Dal kanfei bigdeim ksiv, it's ain't an extra beged. It has to be kanfei bigdeim, it has to be the corner of the beged. It's not a beged. Now, while this strip of this beged is not considered part of the beged, it does help for measurements. For measurement purposes, it is counted as the beged. V'toiv she'imded shir kesher goydel beloy hagdil v'yetoicha gimel tzpoisim hagdil. And it's better, this is picture number 3, it's better to not count, when you're doing the measurements, not to count that reinforced border as part of the measurement. So let's say you need 3 inches. It's better to be 3 inches without the reinforced border. But again, if need be, you can count the reinforced border. I don't stop here.